It's a cloudy, snowy day here in northern Missouri with some sleet forecasted later on. The wind's blowing out there about 10 miles an hour, but the temperature's hovering right around 34 or 35 degrees, so it should be a good day, or as good a day as any in the winter, to shoot the 30-06. This is with my Remington 700. In the last video, I took some 3-shot groups with the 168 grain Hornady boat tail hollow point. I've got that same bullet today, also loaded with IMR 4064 powder. We're going to retest and reconfirm the groups we already shot. If you'll remember in the last video, the last couple of groups I shot probably too fast because the light was fading and I was trying to get everything on video. So I want to retest both the best group and the worst group from that day. Now we'll also be shooting 5-shot groups. That is based on a viewer comment that this gun and this barrel should be able to handle 5-shot groups just fine. I don't doubt that. The barrel doesn't seem to get overly hot overly quick with this sort of load. So we're gonna try those 5-shot groups today as well. If shots 4 and 5 kind of fall out, we'll pay attention to that. I will admit that I did already start to kind of do this test, and I was using a slip-on recoil pad. Let me show that to you. I had this Limb Saver slip-on recoil pad on the butt here, and it threw me off so much I decided we're not going to use this. I may end up replacing the recoil pad on this altogether at some point because there really is no pad. It's just kind of a rubberish butt plate, but it's solid. There's no give to it. But anyway, this slipped too much to the side and added too much length of pole to the system, and it just didn't work out for me. The groups I shot with it on were terrible. As soon as I took this off, my next group was pretty good. So I'm gonna leave it off, not gonna shoot with it for this video. We're just gonna shoot as it is. Also, in the last video with this load, I talked about how bad the trigger was. Well, I have adjusted this. No, YouTube, I have not made any modifications to the gun whatsoever. It is still exactly as it comes from the factory. I have simply adjusted the trigger per their recommendations. It's now light and crisp. The process for adjusting the trigger in this Remington 700 is different than I'd ever done before on a trigger, and it took me a little while to get figured out. I'm not gonna give an instructional on that because it was the first time I did it. I'm not intimately familiar with that. But let's weigh the trigger here just a couple of times and see how much we actually improved. Two pounds, 3.8 ounces. That one showed 2 pounds, 6 ounces, but I don't think I did that as good as I could have. 1 pound, 15 ounces, pulling it just a little quicker. Two pounds even, average of about 2 pounds, 3 ounces, and that's what I was getting for an average last time. So that is significantly better than I think I measured it like 8 to 9 pounds before, which is way heavy. Anyway, it's much better now. I adjusted all the over travel out of it, did a bunch of bump testing it, hitting it hard on the butt plate, ramming it down on the bench, all that. Didn't have the sear drop one single time. So it's safe, it's functional. There was a guy that commented twice, I believe, on my last video, or on, maybe it was a video on the Howa, that light triggers wound game. For an experienced shooter, I'm gonna argue the opposite, because having a light trigger tends to disturb the sight picture less, and therefore the shot tends to go closer to where you intend it. With any sort of trigger discipline whatsoever and not touching the trigger until you are ready to break the shot, I disagree with that statement that a light trigger wounds game. I'm sure that guy had some sort of experience where him or somebody he was hunting with had a light trigger on their gun, and as they were getting lined up, the gun went off before they intended. I understand that sort of thing can happen, but again, with good trigger discipline, that can be avoided, and having a light trigger will help put the shot closer to where you actually intended. I'm not an expert in any of this. That is just my experience, so take that for what it's worth. I've got 10 shots here. This should be a fairly quick test. Let's get out to the range and shoot some groups here. All right, folks, we are out here on the range, and I've done a little bit of dry firing because, again, this trigger is significantly lighter. I'm not exactly sure where I'm impacting on the target, so I've got one round of M2 ball here that I'm going to shoot first. This is some Lake City stuff. I think I may have made some scope adjustments, and I don't remember. Of course, I don't have this particular scope set with a 0 stop for this gun. So we're going to take a shot here with the M2 ball and see where we are. All right, well, if that's any indication, we ought to be about perfect. I am going to go run down there and double check my target camera and stuff, and then we'll get to shooting these groups. That's looking real good. We're going to say we're zeroed. I'll go ahead and load up the magazine. I don't think I mentioned the charge weight inside. This is 48.5 grains of IMR 4064. I think we'll do that today. That'll keep my gloved hands a little bit more comfortable. Let's shoot a group here. Top middle. It is much nicer shooting with that trigger. Much nicer. Glad I got that adjusted. All right, well, we're already not shooting the tightest. All right, folks, you are probably yelling like crazy at me right now, saying, how the heck do you think you're gonna shoot a halfway decent group when the target is moving all over the place? And I have gotten that comment on previous videos. You're absolutely right. Today is a different day, windier even. But as I was editing the video from that last day, I shot all 10 shots and the group was terrible. As I was editing it, I could see a couple of times as my shot broke, the target was moving around. So there's no way to get an accurate representation of a gun's precision when the target's moving all over. So before I even loaded up any more ammo, I built a much beefier target stand. It is much windier today, measured at 8 gusting to 15-ish miles an hour, and that target stand is not moving in the least. Now, we will have that wind to contend with. However, it's only blowing that much for about the first 20 yards. After that, there's trees on both sides, and I measured it. It's like 2 gusting to 5 down through there. So that actually provides quite a bit of wind block. So we're gonna shoot this test over again. I should have 0 excuses today. Of course, I could always mess something up myself, and I'll try to be paying attention to see if I do. I have done a little bit of dry firing to get used to how everything's sitting. This should be the real confirmation. You guys are on the other side of the gun today because the sun's over here right now. It's like 3:30 in the afternoon, so a little bit different view than usual. All right, 4 of those are looking really good. Yeah, 4 out of 5 of those look great. that was the 48.5 grain load. I'm gonna wait 5 minutes and we will shoot the 50 grain charge. See if I can hold it together. Tell you what I'm gonna do in the meantime. I wanna get a little more trigger pulling time. While the 30-06 is cooling down, just thought I'd see what kind of a group I can hold together in this wind. I've got the 140 grain Hornady boat tail hollow point loaded up here in the Creedmoor. This is my Bergara HMR Wilderness, and it is significantly heavier than this 30-06 package. It's got it's a heavier gun with a heavier barrel, heavier scope, and it's got a big old heavy suppressor on the end of it. So it weighs in just over 12 pounds in this configuration, and if I'm remembering right, we're at about 7 here with this 06. So it is not an apples to apples comparison, but we'll see what I can do here. Gun's got to cool down anyway. I forgot I've got a dead-on hold set for this. Hopefully you'll be able to see this on video. Have I mentioned I love this rifle? That last shot was just a little bit to the left, but we had like a 0.3 inch group going on there. All right. That was fun, but not the point of today's video. Let's get the 06 back up here. That Creedmoor spoiled me. I'm gonna get beat up again here. Top middle target there. Holy crap! I have no idea what happened there. That shot broke exactly like it should. Yeah, this gun's throwing me all around, but the bullet should be out the muzzle of this little 22-inch barrel by the time anything that crazy happens. Good grief. These shots on this group have all broken just like I want them to. Crosshairs have been perfectly lined up. All right, again, 4 of those shots into a halfway decent group. And weirdly, I think it was the 3rd shot on each group that flew out. Don't know exactly why that happened, but let's get back to the bench and we'll talk about things a little bit. All right, we'll take a quick look at this target here. So the first group was 1.7 inches overall with 4 of them, these 4 going into 1.08 inches. This shot was the 3rd shot. Not sure why it's outside. The second group, this was with 50 grains, 2.6 inches with 4 of them in 2.9. This is fine. But the 3rd shot, again, went way outside. Looking at this, I almost wonder if I was lining up on this target just because of how the shots are landing, but I really don't think so. My reaction to where that shot landed was pretty immediate. I knew I had been lining up on the right target, and the shot just flew clear over here. I don't know why. This is why we shoot 5-shot groups, right? We can see, no, this is not a half MOA rifle. You can see it's trying to group though. I think if I were able to follow through better, we would see all of the shots here into an inch-ish, right? But with as much as this gun recoils because it is so light, I'm just not able to follow through like I need to put together good groups. Again, I think the gun could probably do it with a better shooter behind the trigger. Just to test my shooting skills while I was out there, that group with the 6.5 Creedmoor, 0.46 inches. Those first 4 shots were into a 0.35 there. But, you know, 0.46 inches, good. That's good any day of the week. Throw a suppressor, a muzzle brake, whatever, and a decent recoil pad. I do think this would shrink up to about that inch. Could we play with charge weight, play with seating depth, and try to get this 168 grain bullet to shoot a little bit better? Yeah, we could, but I don't want to. I really don't have any desire to shoot these loads that push me around as much as these do. It's possible that switching to a little bit different, maybe a slower burning powder, would change the recoil impulse enough to make it more of a shove than as hard of a kick as it is. I don't know. It doesn't matter for this rifle, right? It's not a target rifle. We're not going to be shooting target bullets. My plan had been to shoot the 168 grain Spear Gold Dot through this rifle. And we may still in the future maybe try in a different powder. But the bullet we're shooting next is the 130 grain Barnes TSX. We're going to try to use a lighter bullet to tame this gun down, and we should be hitting 2,900 feet per second, I'm thinking, with this bullet out of 30-06, without too much trouble and probably without too much impact on the shoulder. So that's what's coming for the next video with this rifle. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Thanks again for watching. Y'all have a good one.